Tyler, brother, welcome. Can you hear us?
I can. Thanks, Gastor. I was just in the other room. I am I am here.
You're all good, brother. Appreciate you joining us. We're gonna give it another 30 seconds. As of right now, you got the hot seat, man.
Oh
This
boy,
is
no
golden. We
pressure
got
or
a couple
anything.
sessions going on. There's no pressure. If anything, it's the huge benefit for you. You get
Yeah, this is a treat.
more support. Yeah, brother. I love it. How's your day going?
Good so far. I've been in between work a little bit the last little while, so I've had a lot more time, and I've been going down this rabbit hole of self-development. So I've been reading a bunch, and I've been trying to take advantages of as much programming like this as possible. So it seems thematically I've been pretty dialed in. So I've been going through this book right now, Robert Glover's book, No More Mr. Nice Guy.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with that one or not, but yeah, I'm kind of pouring through that at the moment. So
Beautiful, beautiful.
yeah.
Uh, we love the self-development. That means we're taking responsibility for ourselves, which is the actions of an adult, not of a child. So, what we're going to do today, Tyler, is we're going to dive into some problem solving, some barriers. This is going to be another really good self reflection workshop for you as we go on, and anyone that's listening and joining in at a later date as well. Before we dive into that, what I'm going to ask everyone to do is, can you guys sit up nice and tall? We're going to do probably about 2 minutes of some grounding, some breath work. So sit up nice and tall, get comfortable. Please do me a favor. Can you close your eyes? And I just want you to start focusing on your breath. Inhaling in through the nose, filling that belly up, and then nice long exhales into the belly through the nose. Nice long exhales. And we're going to throw some visualization in here. So as you inhale, I want you to imagine that you're a tree and your branches are growing up into the sky. Then every exhale, your roots are digging deeper and deeper into the ground and rooting yourself. Then that inhale comes next, and we're seeing the branches expand out further and further in all directions, reaching higher and higher and higher. And then the exhale comes with the roots digging deeper and firmer and grounding ourselves even more. And I want you to hold that visualization with every inhale and every exhale. I'm gonna slowly stop talking here in the next 10 seconds. So I just want you to become one with the breath and the visualization. On this next inhale, Tyler, lift your shoulders to your ears on the inhale. And then on the exhale, allow them to relax and drop down away from your shoulders. I'm going to ask you to take 3 more breaths, and then we're going to get started here. Beautiful. Then as you guys come out of your short little meditation, breathing, flicker the eyes, make sure everything's awake and you're there, you're present. As I said earlier, this is going to be a self practice for today. We're going to walk you through some steps. We are going to offer advice and suggestions when needed. It's a great tool for you to take and to run with on your own. And with all that being said, Nicholas, welcome, brother. You just
Hello.
missed the 2 minutes of meditation. That's all right because I know you're grounded right now. You came in at the perfect time. I was just sharing that I'm gonna hand this over to Matt, and we're gonna walk in. We're gonna do some problem solving barriers and some self reflection here. So Matt, whenever you're ready, brother, take it away.
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate that. And Tyler and Nicholas, welcome. I do recognize both of you. I know chatted with you both during the summit. It was, love that you are reattending, re-engaging yourselves. As Tyler, you already mentioned, doing some self-development work, and I applaud you for, you called it a rabbit hole. Yeah, that the path of self-discovery and growth and all the experiences that come with it. And Nicholas, I understand, and I know you as well, are on a similar journey, and many of the people who are going to see this recording as well. So, as Nick mentioned, the focus of today's workshop is barriers. Some call them roadblocks. Different terminology for these things that come up in life as we navigate our own growth, and whether it's in our career path or development of our relationships with intimate partners, children, friends, family, the various spaces that we're engaging often and every day. So we're going to look at what are the thematic things that come up as roadblocks, within a generalized sense, but for more specifically today, you guys, being an intimate group, there is a benefit to that. We have an opportunity to engage you guys a little more directly with what comes up. So with that said, I mean, if you have any questions real quick as to what we mean from barriers or roadblocks, I don't want to assume that they're self-explanatory. So if there is any questions, clarifying questions, please ask now. Otherwise, I want you guys to take a minute or two, whatever it takes. If you have writing, Nicholas, do you have something that you could write on there?
I forgot my notebook at home this rotation, actually.
No worries, brother. We have a chat box as well, which we can utilize if you want to type away, whatever works for you. If it comes up and just verbalize it, that works as well. But take a couple minutes and whether it's choosing one or the various paths that you're exploring, what are some common roadblocks, barriers that come up for you in the exploration of that and the expansion and wanting to find movement in those spaces?
Wait, so we're talking about roadblocks and barriers here on what?
So in your exploration of your growth, like
Oh, okay.
relationships, with your partner, with your children, if you have them, in the professional space, looking to expand your career or a career shift, income, yeah, there's whatever space you choose to use in this workshop as the point of reference. It could be a generalized roadblock that kind of comes up in all your spaces. So Tyler, it looks like you're, took a pause there, and we've just to keep time as a consideration. This and as explained, this is an interactive event, so we are going to call on you to share as and we hope that you'll engage that. So as you wrote down, we'd love for you to share what has come up. What are some of those roadblocks that we're speaking to?
Yeah, for sure. I got a couple here. And I think these are more general in the terms that they would apply to multiple areas of my life. But I tend to struggle with this lack of trust in myself And I think I have a complicated relationship with my self-worth, in that there are days where I'll look in the mirror and think, like, you got this, man, like, you're a stud. And then there are many other times where I just really struggle to believe that I truly have the skills to follow through on something. And it kind of goes back and forth, and there's a real duality there that I struggle with, and I can recognize that. You know, if you catch me at the right moment, I feel unstoppable, and then other times I'm my own worst enemy. I also have this need to be perfect, I think, before jumping in on something, and I think that probably ties in with a sense of imposter syndrome, and that there are things I want to do, or I want to get excited about, and I tend to start that process, and then I quickly back out because I feel, well, I don't know enough, or I should spend more time becoming an expert on this before I speak to it, or whatever it is. And I rob myself of a lot of opportunities, I think, to begin something, just because I don't feel I deserve to be in that arena at that point in time. And then the last thing I put down was self-leadership and accountability. And I think that goes for both, you know, occupational pursuits, but that one really came up for me in relationship. And, you know, I had a pretty significant relationship end over the summer. And one of the things I took away from that was just realizing that there were a number of things that she had brought up that I just didn't really have the tools to kind of face at the time, or take as being truths about me, because it made me uncomfortable to recognize that I wasn't maybe as dialed in as I thought I was. And now having to kind of go through and own those things, and that part's coming, but then the process of being able to lead myself without needing somebody else to do it for me. So those would be the ones that have kind of popped up here.
It's beautiful. So, I mean, what comes up for me as you finish off there is that there's as difficult as the end of those partnerships, relationships can be. You know, it's good that you're seeing the gift of the high things that the relationship highlighted, and the things that you need to work on, or choose to work on, not so much need, but want to work on, that you saw as a limiting thing in that relationship space. You know, and that's a great mindset to take out of the relationship, of, you know, getting through that reactionary emotional stage of the you know, so-called ending of it, to see that there's, you know, what was my role in it, and where did I land, you know, that I can bring and grow and bring into the next engagement of whatever relationship you choose. So bravo for that. And I do want to, you started to mention a bit of the things that you know, doing some work. I want to ask you next, and we're going to get to Nicholas in a second, but what were some of the things that you have already attempted before we kind of get into a coaching interactive here? What have you already tried within your own, you know, sphere of knowledge to work through some of these barriers, you know, of self-worth, you know, the imposter syndrome, so to say? I mean, we all just heard you identify some of the things, which is a big step, you know, that identification of what it is that's holding you back. And what have you done? Yeah, what kind of work have you put in already?
I guess without being hyperbolic and trying to be more literal, you know, the first thing that I did was go back into therapy environment. I got myself into therapy, and I'd done that a few years back, and then I think felt as though, well, one, I mean, it's very expensive and can be, and that was a limiting factor. But I also felt like, I've done work, I'm good to go now, and I certainly wasn't. So I had to kind of get myself back into that space, and so I've been doing that. I've also been trying to take the time to investigate subjects, or sorry, investigate the subjects that I've outlined in a curious sense, and read books and take courses, and you know, try to find coursework that addresses the things that, you know, I could put my finger on and go, yeah, that's a problem, but maybe it'll sort itself out, and hadn't actually done the work to really look into why that side of me is the way it is and what I can do to change about it. So I think there's been a more active engagement in trying to correct, as opposed to just acknowledge and hope it goes away. And then I think beyond that, trying to just be a little bit more disciplined with myself, and recognizing that that is a struggle and a process, but that if I want to implement change, I can't jump from like A to Z immediately, which is something that I tend to do. I haven't really been kind enough to myself in the past to say that, you know, one step at a time is normal and totally okay. You don't have to be, you know, 0 to 100 right off the bat. And that's just sort of how I'm programmed, and trying to unlearn that and give myself a little bit more latitude to kind of be on the path one step at a time.
Good for you, man. Yeah, it's that male, like the masculine essence of like, show up, man. Like, show up no matter what you're feeling, you know. And that 0 to 100, what I drew from that when you were saying it is that, you know, that desire to fix it like immediately, you know, and that, you know, so I can at least show up, not you know, emotionally depleted, not in a, you know, a state like, I'm good, I got this, you know. And that, you know, it's ingrained and it's embedded in us to, you know, to show up, just keep showing up, like, you're good, get up, you know, dust it off, and keep moving, when there's so much in that container that needs that slower movement that you're already acknowledging, you know, like, one step at a time. And I want to choose to stay grounded through this growth process. You know, if I try to expedite myself to a destination, yeah, then you're just grinding. Then you're living in a heavy existence, and you're just compiling. You're just filling that container with other stuff that you're not able to fully process, so to say. So yeah, slowing down, man. That's really good. And how's it worked for you?
You know, it's been better. Like, I think my self-talk has changed. And I know that that is something that was brought up during the summit, I think, and just the I forget how you referred to it, you know, the architecture of how we kind of speak to ourselves. I've been actively more grateful, I think, for certain things, as opposed to seeing them as a detriment, or, you know, I guess that victim mentality is starting to shift a little bit. And there's definitely a feeling of more presence and embodiment. And I think that's come through, you know, actively creating time to meditate, or noticing if I feel agitated and I think, well, what am I doing right now? Am I numbing myself by watching TV? Like, sometimes I'll be watching TV and be on my phone at the same time and have no desire of doing either of those things. And I think, like, let's just stop and take a few minutes. You know, I've been going to the gym. I started doing jujitsu. So there's been this like investment in trying to bring things to the moment and be more in my body, which I think, I mean, it can sound a little bit half-baked, but I'm starting to realize that there's real value in that. You know, I've stopped trying to live 10 feet away from myself, and kind of bring it back to what's happening here right now.
All you're guaranteed is this moment, right? Like,
Totally. Yeah,
that's the only one that's a guarantee, is the one you're currently experiencing.
totally.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful. It's funny. I was talking to a guy yesterday who was trying to get off social media, and he said, the moment he caught himself was he was sitting there with his dog lying across his feet, and he was on Instagram watching a reel of a guy walking his dog, and he was like, "What the fuck? Like, I gotta stop this, man. Like, I'm so out of my own existence. Like, I just want to." And he stood up and put his phone down and took his dog out for a walk. He's like, "I can experience this in my own reality, because you are the arbiter of the creation of your life." And that is and it sounds like you're on it. Like I applaud you for the movement that you're already creating for yourself through keeping yourself grounded. With activation of meditation and movement, something like you suggested that you pulled the nugget from the summit. We talked about that architect language of, you can choose. You get to choose. You don't have to do anything. You don't need to do anything. The shoulds, the coulds. I choose today to ground myself, take things slower, and activate a path for the creation of your being that is yours to decide, despite all those embedded beliefs that were ingrained in us as we were nurtured in our childhood and teenage years, formative years. So yeah, that's great. Nick, do you have anything to add to where Tyler is?
I would say discipline. Discipline's a really good one. That's what I need to work on. I think what's holding me back, a big barrier, I guess, from getting where I want to be, or a roadblock actually. Not so much a barrier. I can. It's this job that I have right now. I've been debating to save up money for my next few rotations and just dip and then going and doing what I want to do, photography and stuff like that, to try and get into my creative space there. And yeah, I think just what else did I write down?
Nicholas, I just want to say real quick, I can hear most of what you're saying, but if you could speak up a little bit.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you better though.
Oh, okay. For I would just say that some roadblocks are this job and stuff like that I have right now. But very I lost my train of thought where I was going back. Wanting to go back to school but needing to work to save for my daughter is a barrier for growth, because wanting to go back to school and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. I just came off night shift, so I was just writing down random thoughts on what the good roadblock and barriers like that I'm dealing with at the moment. I think night shifts are roadblock right now because it really messes up my schedule and timing with goals that I want to achieve.
Well, I want to say a couple things before Nick. Coach Nick is going to step in and say a couple things.
Okay.
But I get it. I get the mushiness of that night shift. I mean, that, Nick speaks to it very, at depth about that importance of, sleep, nutrition, that the principles of, holistic well-being, and, honoring that, you're managing these two dynamics. You want to show up as a dad best you can, providing what's necessary for you, yet you also are having this contrasting energy that you're not in the workspace that feels right for you. And our friend Tyler here alluded to it. It's like that, you sometimes, slowing things down and realizing that, going back to school from a macro perspective may be the very thing that provides for your daughter long term more effectively than, just grinding in that current situation that you're creating in from a professional standpoint, and being able to slow everything down and not, because when you're in that state of overwhelm, I have to provide, and it creates that energy that you bypass that what might come up if you slow down and get into that regulated state to consider the holistic view of it all, where if 2 years of going back to school and educating myself, creating a version of self that can then provide differently long term is something to consider, right? And it's getting out, as we talked about in the summit, getting out of that survival mode, that overwhelm. So these things can be considered, that you don't have to grind every day to provide just for, there's a more there's a vaster picture than the one that usually comes up in overwhelm.
Yeah.
Nick, you can take the floor.
Yeah, and the one thing that comes up, I'll share something with you, Nick, then I'll jump over to Tyler, is this act of prostitution is what's coming up for me right now. When you are giving your time to an unworthy cause, it sounds like the night shift work is like your prostitution. You're selling yourself to this job that's unworthy. The catch-22 is, at times, potentially with where you're at in life, Nick, you may need to prostitute yourself with the understanding that you're doing it out of a purpose and out of cause to get to your next step. So like, I may need to take this job on. I don't like it. I understand that, but this job is going to allow me to get to point B where I need to be so I can be present with my daughter. I'm not working night shifts. I know overseas, working night shifts is carcinogenic. It produces cancer. It's not healthy for you, as Matt was saying. Like, working night shifts, probably the worst thing that you can do for your mental and emotional health, as well as your physical health as well. So getting clear on, okay, what are your steps? Where do I need to go? What does it look like for me to be financially stable? What do I need to provide for my daughter? How much do I need to make? Those would be some good things to have a really good understanding of. And then using that to decide where you need to go. Is it going back to school? Is it doing some type of trade school? Is it taking on a different job? What's going to be the easiest way for you to get from point A to point B? And prostitution may be there. I was a prostitute for 10 years when I was a teacher because I was doing something that I didn't like and I didn't have passion for. So I want to share that. Tyler, what came up for me, brother, with you, and there's a couple things. The first thing that jumped out to me that you're talking about is your girlfriend brought to light some aspects of yourself that you were not perhaps proud of, or you didn't see, or you weren't happy about. True?
Absolutely true. Yeah.
Okay. Now, whatever those are, you can share if you want. If you don't want to, I don't care. My question to you is, have you seen those play out in other relationships within your life?
Oh, absolutely. I think the change was this time was that I was forced to, or at least had the ability to change the viewpoint a little bit. Whereas in the past, I think I'd made it, these things were happening to me. They weren't my fault. I think this one, because it was a very special relationship, I think that because I cared about this person the way I did, I respected them enough to look at it and go, you're right. And this is how I failed to show up. And this was the consequence of that. And I can now do two things. Having acknowledged it, I can ignore it. And I feel like in the past I had the option to ignore it because I didn't know it was a problem. Now it was clear to me, so I could choose to ignore it, which didn't seem productive, or I could try to change it, which has been horribly uncomfortable because it brings up all this stuff about yourself where you go, oh, God damn, like I didn't know, now I do, and I hate it, but I'm trying to pull those roots out and, replace them. And that's been, it's been uncomfortable. As you know, I was talking about the book I was reading earlier, like that. It's been enlightening, but also just horribly uncomfortable because every page is just like, oh, you're naming all these things that I didn't know were shared traits between other people. I thought that was just something about me, and now it's written on a page and it's clear and I can see that. I have to acknowledge that and change it, which is both awesome and sucks at the same time.
Yeah. And that you getting uncomfortable is a good sign, first and foremost, that you are stepping into that new Tyler, whatever that new version is. The other aspect that I want to bring up is the ego is very fragile. It doesn't like to see those things and doesn't like to address those things. And what many individuals do, at least in my experience of coaching and working with a lot of people, is they will continue to attract the same type of person into their life until they start resolving those issues within themselves. So the ego doesn't want to take responsibility or to see it. at least in my perspective. So what they will do is they will attract that type of person into our lives so we can see it in the external realm. This person is doing this, or they're actually, what you're doing is you're bringing it into your conscious awareness now that, oh shit, this is me. I need to make the change with that. So whatever that is, this is where you get to make that change. If not, I would suspect that you will attract that same thing into your next relationship in one way, shape, form, or another. Does that make sense?
100%. And I'd heard that before, you know, that idiom, the lesson will continue to be taught until it's learned, or at least that idea of it. And that's definitely felt more real in the past 7 months than I think it has in the past. But it makes 100%.
The last thing I want to share with you before I'll hand it back to Matt is you talk about this, like this feeling of a self-worth or lack of. And my invitation to you would be to look at it. Are you viewing the self-worth or the lack of from a place of accomplishments in your life, or from the character that you are bringing out into the world? Many individuals look at the accomplishments. I need to accomplish this, this, and this. This makes me a good person. I'm doing this and this and this for the world. Look at me. Look what I'm doing. And the tricky part with that is once you get those accomplishments, that goalpost gets moved further. Oh, this wasn't enough. Now I need to do this. So said in a different way, I need to make 50,000. You make $50,000 a year. Oh shit, that's not enough. I need to be making 100K a year. You get there. That's not enough. And the goalpost keeps getting moved. So you actually never achieve what you're looking to achieve. Whereas if we can reframe it and we look at the characteristics, what are the characteristics that you want to embody? Just like Nicholas with your daughter, like what characteristics do you want them to embody? You want them, do you want them to be good people? Do you want them to be confident? Do you want them to be well-spoken? Do you want them to be honest? Judging yourself on those characteristics will help you to see, wow, fuck, I am worthy of this. I am living by these characters. These are like, this is like what resonates with me. These are my values around my being. And that takes the whole achievement piece out of play. And it's like, fuck, I am doing all these things that are like, I am a good person. I'm doing awesome. Like, look at this. This is what I'm putting out into the world. So that would be a potentially a perception switch, so to speak, that can help bring on that self-worth, just to give you a couple things to chew on.
Can I ask a question of you real quick, Nick? Just in regards to that, because I think I'm in this transitory phase right now where I have gone from a place of being completely oblivious to recognizing that perhaps in the past I'd been valuing myself based on, like you said, what I've accomplished, you know, what are my, you know, what's my resume look like? How do people perceive me? And recognizing that that wasn't doing it and wanting to put more of an emphasis on, you know, being the person I want to be. But I think that's now where I've kind of entered that realm of going, oh, you want to be a person who embodies these qualities, and you're recognizing that you don't have them in the way that you want. So I think that's the phase I'm in, where I'm not trying not to beat myself up over it. Like I'm trying to actively attack getting those things onboarded, but there is that feeling from time to time that, oh, well, in order to do this or to have this experience or to show up in this way, you have to have these things, and you're still in the kindergarten phase of developing those. You don't deserve a seat at the table yet until that's more evolved, I guess, and trying to navigate that process. Because I think, like you said, having moved from the one mindset to the other is a big win for me, but still trying to navigate, you know, not holding myself back because I'm developing those traits that I want to bring into, you know, my life and ultimately into the world around me.
I just want to be clear. Was there a question that I missed in there, or did you want to share that? Do you just want my insights?
Oh, yeah. I was just curious, like in terms of how to better navigate that that transition phase. So it's not that I'm trying to step away from accomplishments. I feel like I've recognized that. It's that I'm battling how do I put it, like that lack of trust or self-worth based upon not having the qualities that I'm trying to develop. Or they're not evolved yet. They're in the process of being evolved, but they're not where I'd like them to be in order to feel like I can go out into the world in the way I want to be.
First thing I would say, do you notice the self-judgment already?
Oh yeah. Yeah, totally.
That would be it. Can you give yourself grace? Like, you're already judging yourself harshly. Like, I should be at this point in my life. This individual, X, Y, or Z, whoever that is already there. Well, you're judging them on one perspective, and do you notice, like, when you look at people, you typically, like, when you look up to people, you always find the best aspect about them. Well,
Sure.
underneath that, they always have a bunch of shit behind it too that you don't see. So I guess a short answer would be, give yourself grace. Don't judge yourself so harshly. And in my belief, we on Earth are in this elementary phase anyways of growth and evolution. What are the lessons to learn? And perhaps the lesson isn't even about becoming more confident or attaining this. It's, what if the underlying lesson is, look how harshly I am judging myself. Look how much I beat myself down. That's what stands out to me in that short sentence. Other coaches, if you guys have other things you want to share, by all means.
I think I just want to piggyback on it, that, something we alluded to earlier, that inner critic, mostly in my experience, my own experience also working with others, is that it manifests from the limiting beliefs that come from where we're supposed to be and should be, and how we're supposed to show up. Yes, there are some, common ways of being a good human that should be, received across the board. But that critic of, telling it's coming from within, but it was at some point received externally, and being able to, accept that and then apply that grace, as Nick said, to, whoa, hold on, I get to choose, where I'm supposed to be, where I want to be. It doesn't, I don't have to match that person, because they're having their own human experience that is so vastly different than mine. And, knowing that, will calm that inner critic to allow you more space to apply grace and choose for Tyler what's best for Tyler, what's best for you, Nicholas, also for your daughter and those that you love. But it starts from you, and it starts from, releasing those limiting beliefs of where the trajectory you're supposed to be on. How about what's the trajectory I want to be on? And changing that dialogue within, to navigate it with a peaceful, exploration, not to that destination of, I gotta be this to meet the rest of the world where they are. It's a peaceful surrender, and also an ongoing surrender. So I think that it's, and you're on the path, both of you. Any feedback from that? Anything come up there, Tyler or Nicholas?
I think for me, it's just acknowledging that, like, that tracks 100%. It's like hearing things that you already know about yourself to be true, but then having someone else say them is just, sometimes you need that. I definitely am probably my harshest critic, and I don't know where that comes from. I'm sure that I could dig into that a little bit more. But it's certainly been a limiting factor in my life. And like I said, off the top, there are days where I've got that in check, and I can look at myself and go, like, no, you got this. Like, you are more than qualified to handle this. You're the man. And then there's other days where that dark side flips over and kind of takes the wheel, and trying to like you say, be a little more gracious with understanding maybe why that side of me has the wheel at any given moment, and then trying to work through that from a place of understanding, and then how can we improve this, as opposed to being very harsh and critical about the fact that that's just the way it is. But it is a process, because I do hate that is such a limiting thing in my life. And there are moments where I think, you've done so much work and you really got this in check, and then like you just called it out immediately. It's like, oh, that's super self judgmental. Like that was what I picked up from that sentence, and it's like, oh damn, there it is. It just snuck in and got away with it. But thank you for naming it, and moments like that are good, because it does help me to see it where it kind of seeps through the cracks. But yeah, it's definitely a work in progress, but I guess progress being the key word. It is taking place. So
Yeah, it's that awareness piece, that you're speaking to there, and progress again. Just to reiterate one more time, like a destination can continue to change. Like if you're just seeking one spot you want to land, you'll often find yourself in disappointment. Keep exploring, keep expanding, keep that movement going. I mean, I think I can speak for all the coaches. We're all often activating our own coaching, because the awareness is there that progress, expansion, and learning and development is a ongoing thing, that waiting for it to be like, oh, I'm there, and then, oh, how come I'm never getting there? It's happening. So yeah, that awareness piece is beautiful to apply to that growth that you're exploring. Honoring time, it is a good segue, and I want to honor the time here, because we are, some of the things that I've heard and I've wrote down, from both perspectives, Nicholas, that need to provide, that desire to stay where you are, because you fear what may not be able to manifest for you and your daughter, and things, or Tyler, the fears that come up in the relationship space of, how am I going to shift so I don't experience that again? And there's a beautiful thing that we've, on February 26th, we're going to put an event out on fear setting, and it's being able to, it's a moment where we're going to help you identify those fears and strategically help you move through them, and make them comfortable, so to say, where it becomes that not something you are afraid of anymore. And a fear setting exercise for me has been so impactful in my own experience, and the other coaches can speak to that as well. That it's so important that we're going to do 75 to 90-minute seminar on February 26th just on fear setting, because it is something that we believe in, that is necessary for the growth and movement of the human experience. So that is something to be excited about. We are going to email the community that we're establishing here with more information on that. We wanted to share that with you guys today. Nick, do you want anything else to?
Yeah, I'll throw this in on the February 26th when we go into the fear setting. Today was more fluid. We want to have more conversation. That one's going to be more of a workshop. We're going to be walking you guys through what is our biggest fear, what's our limiting belief, what are those aspects. We're going to dive deep into how those are hindering us. As Seneca said, we suffer more in imagination than we do in reality. So we're going to pull those fears out and reflect on them and see how they're actually hindering us. So that's coming up. The other aspect that I would say for today, because I know we're running up on time here, is what are some options that you guys can do moving forward? So we've done a lot of talking about what has come up. I would like you guys, after we get off the call, if you guys can sit down for 5 minutes and just write down, all right, this is what I've shared. What are my options moving forward? Sometimes we don't even look at our options. So can you write down everything big and small? Maybe it's a very, very small step in the right direction, write it down. Maybe it's a huge step in the right direction, write it down, and everything in between. What are the options that you have moving forward and with where you're looking to go in your life? That would be my one invitation for you guys to reflect on after this call. Matt, back to you, brother. Kayla, if you want to share anything.
Yeah, man. I mean, all thank you for showing up. First of all, thank you for today. Thank you for injecting, your energy into this session. And I guess I want to invite you, just as a tie off, if there's anything that needs clarification, or you can always reach out through the Thriving Man email portal to each of us, any of us individually. If you're not already, Thriving Man's on Instagram, Thriving Man Academy. Follow us on there. We are actively trying to make, or we're working on making that way more exciting. Yeah, so, we're going to be doing lots of stuff. Stay tuned. Not just the February 26th event. We're going to keep injecting stuff out there, and, you guys will be in the know through email, and obviously on Instagram and the other platforms that we are representing. So short of that, thank you again. If there's anything just to, from your perspective, guys, that, I don't want to leave you dangling or leave you hanging either. So if there's something that that you want to say before we hop off, please do.
I mean, I feel like I took up a lot of time, so I'm not sure if Nicholas has something he wants to ask, but I would just say thank you for the opportunity. I wasn't expecting such a small group when we hopped on the call today, so this was kind of a neat opportunity to actually have what felt like a real conversation with you guys. So thank you for taking the time.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Tyler.
I cede my time to Nicholas.
I don't got much to say for this one. I'm pretty tired and gonna head to bed and meditate on a lot of things today probably, and then wake up and get my ass work tomorrow and figure it out. And that's how I'm gonna end this call.
Well, Nicholas, you're listening to your body. You're listening to what you need, or what you feel is best for you. So absolutely, man, get some rest. With all that, you showed up here, man. That's awesome. And we appreciate you doing that. So get some rest, feed the vessel, and enjoy whatever the rest of the day brings to both of you.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much, everybody.
Cheers.